So all you do with this mould is to take a small bowl of mixture, and the mixture is a fairly translucent white with just the edge taken off it, so it's not too white, although actually if you look at this it's quite white, it's quite bright white, but I just put a tiny, the tiniest smear of yellow on it. So it's sort of a peppercorn size. That might be a bit too big, but I don't want to make it too small either. About a peppercorn size. Pop it into the bottom of the mould and press it down a little bit so that it sticks. It might try and jump out at you. And then get a ball tool or the back of a ball tool into it and just work it round a little bit so that it sits nicely into that mould. I don't know whether you can see that well. I've got more smooth hair. Cat hair gets everywhere. And then the top of the mould goes on and you press it down really firmly. And then I take a quick look at it to see if it's gone in well, and I think that's just pushed that one up a bit, so I'm just going to give it another press. And then to get it out of the mould, my mould's a bit broken on the edge there because I've tried to cut this bottom corner into it and I've made quite a bad job of it, but just squeeze it inwards to release it from the mould and then flip it out. That one's not very good, but I'll just take these other things off here which are not relevant. I have quite a lot of these here, and I will coat them in this Perfect Pearls before I bake it. So with no idea of continuity at all, look, changed clothes and everything. Of course it's another day today. I'm just going to finish off doing these, whoops, these little scallops. And of course I've moved everything off while I've set everything up. Got flies in the house today. In the camper at this time of year, for some reason, get off. For some reason we're full of flies. I think they hatch in the farmyards and come into all the houses. So I've put all these scallop shells into a little box, and so this is, they've come out hard, slightly pearlised, not too pearlised, and I've got, you won't see this I don't think, I've got a slightly browned line across there and a little bit round the edges like I had on the full size one. Let's push that off shot. You should see my house around all this. Just this bit's tidy, but the rest is just a mess. So anyway, so now what I need is my canes, and these are made in advance, and I also sell these, and these are the scallop ones, tiny little things, and that's for an oyster, tiny oyster. And how I've made those is I've made a sort of very translucent off-white centre ring, and then I've added what's called, I think it's called the, I can't remember now, it's the egg sac anyway from the scallop, and it's from ochre to orange. I'm going to remember the name of that thing shortly, but anyway. So now I need to cut those, and I need to cut them very finely. I only want them about 1 millimetre. I should really put my glasses on, but then when I look up I'm all squinty-eyed. So lots and lots of tiny thin little bits of scallop, and I will put my glasses on now. Then I need some liquid Fimo. It's all rolling around all over the place. Of course it is. And a cocktail stick. I've always got cocktail sticks to hand. And let's get my board out. I do work here on my knee in front of the television's over there, and I just watch it while I'm working. And I only need a very small amount of liquid Fimo, and normally I'd use a tiny little dropper bottle, but of course I'm not prepared. If I was prepared for videoing, I'd be a video artist. So, little drop on each of these. I'll just do 3 for now. And I'll put a little bit of liquid Fimo on the edge of my tile. And I always, I had a question from Mags about keeping things clean. And I'm not a housewife, I'm not any kind of housewife, I'm not tidy in any way. But my hands are always very clean when I'm working, and I always work on clean tiles as much as possible, unless of course I'm working with powders when it's impossible to keep them clean. Otherwise, I have cat hair in everything. I try, and if I'm wearing black clothes like I am now, I try to wear something over the top that's not black, because the threads from black clothes get all over everything as well. And I know we all have this problem, so... but if your hands are clean, it doesn't really matter what your house is like, if your hands and your work surface are clean. So, I've put one of the... if your cocktail stick has got Fimo liquid on it, which is why I did a little pile there, you can just pick little bits of whatever you want to place up with a cocktail stick, and then just place it, and then let's turn itself over, and then you can put a little bit more liquid Fimo over the top, which just makes it look wet inside the shell. So I think I've picked slightly small scallops for these shells, but because when I make them, they come out in lots of different sizes, and the same with the shells. Depends how big a ball you put in the mould and how hard you press it, how big your shell's going to come out. So those are done. You won't be able to see them, I don't think, but I'll try and put a picture on the end. And all I do then is bake those, and they, as I've said before, sell for quite a reasonable amount of money. So definitely worth doing.